Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Unleashing Potentials podcast. Today's special guest is Aoife. Aoife, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here and so nice to meet you. And I'm really looking forward to our connection today.
Yeah. So where in the world are you, Aoife?
I'm in Spain at the moment. I'm in Mallorca, but I'm Irish. So I'm from Ireland, living at the moment as a digital entrepreneur and just seeking warmer climates.
Oh, nice. It is warmer there, eh? In Spain?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's warmer than Ireland here. Yeah.
Okay. Do they get snow there? Oh, no. Like
In
winter?
in Spain, yeah, they do actually, not so much. Well, in the high mountains here in Mallorca, actually, they do.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's really cool. So why don't you start by telling us who you are and a bit more of what you do?
Yes, I'd love to. So my name is Aoife, and I am a mind-body coach. I mostly work with highly sensitive women, and I teach women how to heal themselves from chronic pain, chronic illness, anxiety, and depression. And these simple, effective tools they'll blow your mind, because this is something that I found in my early 30s, and I had already been living for 30 years with um, all kinds of painful, debilitating symptoms and conditions. And despite having a privileged upbringing and access to medical care and alternative holistic care and education, I still found myself in my early 30s sicker than ever. I had diagnoses such as fibromyalgia, um, carpal tunnel syndrome, bladder syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, all the syndromes. I had acne, I had period pain. Every single part of my body had been scanned and x-rayed since I was a child. Candida, I had food intolerances. I couldn't eat food, like hardly any food, gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free.
Mhm,
Anyway, the list goes on.
mhm.
And it was when I found these tools that I'm going to share with you today, this vital missing piece of information. It's mind body, and the mind body medicine is kind of like a new paradigm in medicine, and lots of doctors out there practicing it. But it
Mhm.
is really, really simple. But it's just a missing piece of education. So I'm super excited to be sharing it with you guys today.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have a lot to unpack, and everything you've mentioned, unfortunately, lots of people do struggle with those. Uh, the immediate concern would be who can they talk to about it? And even if they see doctors, is it the right type of doctors they're seeing? And it goes from diet, sleep, all of it is impacted.
Totally. And I think this is actually the one of the most difficult parts of the journey. And this is from the age of 3 or 4 years old. This is where my journey began, going to doctors and
Mhm.
getting tests and conflicting information, vague information, unexplained. Everything was unexplained, unexplained pain, unexplained fevers. My
Yeah.
body used to go into a high fever as a child
Yeah.
for apparently no reason. Unexplained, unexplained. So naturally, when you get, you hit so many walls or you try some medication and it doesn't work. So naturally, you decide, okay, I'm going to try take this into my own hands. And already you've already been through a lot of stress, getting diagnoses, not having clear-cut answers, being told you have to live with this forever. Who knows what you were told? Then you're left with no choice but to take it into your own hands.
Mhm.
And again, that's a stress, that's a burden. How are you gonna go figure it out? You got Google, you have alternative therapists and different yeah, then it's all diet and it's the pressure, like you have to eat perfectly, you have to sleep 8 hours, you have to drink purified water, it becomes you for me, I became scared of food. I was terrified of gluten. I was terrified of sugar. I was terrified what was in my water. And my world was just getting smaller and smaller. And all the while, I was getting more and more stressed. So it's no wonder now when I look back that I was getting sicker and sicker. I was getting worse. It makes sense to me now that I know what I know. But at the time, it was a very, very painful and desperate place to be in, knowing that I'd really tried everything really wholeheartedly. I'd really gone all in and tried and done everything, and I was exhausted, and I was no better off for having done it all.
Yeah, you were so young too. Wow, very, very young. How did that impact your childhood? Did you still have fun and get by in school and other activities?
I did, in terms of, like, I was a very fun kid, and I loved playing, I loved my friends, but I would get struck down a lot. Like, I could have friends over playing, and I would get struck down with some symptoms and a fever. And then I did miss a lot of school.
Mm,
Um, I missed a lot of school because of being sick, and then by the time I got to secondary school, like high school, I was missing school more because, yeah, I was just so tired and stressed and frustrated. I was so angry.
mhm,
I was already just so angry by the time I was a teenager.
mhm.
And I still was going to the doctor at this point. Then I got my period, and my period pains were awful. So I was going to the doctor. I had acne. I was going to the doctor. I had fatigue, IBS, all the things. So it's been a long journey.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Speaking of periods, let's unpack a little bit about that. I recently got a book at one of the public libraries where I'm at, and it talks about women's periods and vagina health. For some reason, we know those body parts exist as women. Everybody knows, but somehow there's still shame tied to our period, to our womanhood. Um, what are your thoughts on this topic?
What a great topic. And I'm so glad that you chose that out of everything.
Mhm, mhm,
Oh, I have so much to share on this, because when I was a kid, a little girl, I very quickly saw that I was in a misogynistic society, and I very quickly hated being a girl and being a woman. I didn't see any of the storybooks that I had representing um something is inspiring for me. So I loved Batman, I loved Superman, I loved all the heroes, and I wanted to be a boy then because I wanted to be
mhm.
like, you know. So there's a few layers going on, and I picked up a lot of beliefs, that being a girl meant I was, can be the caretaker, caretaking people,
Mhm.
um, and just so many limiting beliefs. And I honestly, up until very recently, I didn't know the anatomical names. I knew all about a penis.
Yeah.
I knew all about what a penis looked like, the different names of the different parts. And honestly, up until very recently,
Mhm.
I only really learned the parts of my own genitalia. And I remember I was dating a guy. I was about 23 or 24, and he was 30. And I remember him saying, like, where do girls pee from? Like, he didn't know. And I was trying to explain to him, but I didn't even have the vocabulary to
Mhm.
talk
Mhm.
about my own anatomical makeup. So I mean, it's all just very telling about how you feel about yourself, right? And so when I got the period pain, the really intense period pain, the doctor said to me that I should have a baby young. I was 16, I was 15. The
Wow.
doctor said
Mm,
that if I had a baby young, it would help my period pain.
mm,
Um, so the level of, like, weird information that can be given to you through the medical system or any kind of other system. But the reason this is all connected to the chronic pain and the anxiety and the depression is because when I began to understand that the nervous system is connected to every part of my body, and I began to understand that chronic pain, illness, immune system problems, like any your eyes, your breath, your fingers, your womb
mhm,
can all is all connected to your nervous system. So I used to think I had, like, 15 diagnoses. I had mental health problems, physical health problems. And I thought I had like 15 different problems. And I
Mhm.
realized I actually just had one problem, and that was my nervous system was in a state of chronic stress. And
Mhm.
when my nervous system's in a state of chronic stress, my stomach doesn't work, so I can't digest food. I have no serotonin, so I'm depressed. I'm in a state of fear, so everything is scary and I'm anxious. And all kinds of other things can go in my wrong in my body. And I connected it also to my womb.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why was my nervous system in a state of stress? Because of these limiting beliefs that I had about who I was in this world, who I am in this world, and what it means to be me.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's really connected.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I can tell you you're not alone in how you feel. Um, Obviously, in some cultures, they're more open about sex. And other cultures, not so much. I'm from one of those cultures where it can be half-half, but mostly it was very shut off. It's something you don't talk about it. You do it in private. It doesn't matter. It's just didn't talk. No one talked about it. And then I came here in grade 10 in Canada. I'm putting condoms on bananas in class, and I'm learning. And it was hard because of where I came from, but also people can be in diverse and in countries that have very rich cultures and still be undereducated when it comes to that. And yeah, I've experienced quite a bit of pain as well. I still do. uh, to some women, they go to hospitals to get help, or like you at the doctor's office to see what they can do. But yeah, I've never heard of a doctor suggesting to have kids to make the pain better. My doctor suggests the opposite. Don't do it. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing. Um, how can we as a society and culture educate all genders and all races about um, our body parts?
Um, how, well, I think that the best way, in my experience, the best way to make any changes in the people around me, like in close proximity to me or the rest of the world, is definitely to change. I always start with myself.
Mhm.
Well, I'm gonna say I always do, but like as of a few years ago, I start with myself. Before that, I was always, trying to change other people. Um, so I started to learn about myself, about what it meant, what kind of beliefs I had gotten about myself, as a um when I came into the world. And I'm Irish, I was born in England, and what kind of beliefs did I get about myself, and are they true? Is it true what I believe, that I should be the caretaker, that I should be taking care of everyone, and not that I should suppress my own needs in favor of others, that I should always put others first, that I am, perfectionism, that I have to be perfect. If I'm not perfect, I'm bad and wrong. I should be full of shame and guilt and scared to make mistakes, all these different things, right? But um then for men and for anyone in between or whatever, you're gonna have had your own programming. Um, and that programming, I mean, when you think about it, it came down through the generations before us, and it's really outdated. I said in one of my workshops that I did, I was telling people, like, imagine that you're like a brand new Mac Air laptop, from 2023, but your operating system is like from a typewriter.
Mm.
And when you have that old, ancient operating system
Mhm.
on a brand new computer, what's going to happen is it's not going to work.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to malfunction. It's going to be tension. It's going to be stress, and that will manifest physically in your body
Mhm.
as illness, pain, anxiety, and then it will manifest in your life. Like, so for me, I found relationships really difficult. I often fell out and fought with my friends. I held grudges. I was really fighting with my parents all the time.
Mhm.
Um, so I was always pointing the finger. I really thought like these people were really hurting me. And, it's not that they were completely innocent at all, but I couldn't see that I also had some patterns and way I was behaving that were
Mhm.
contributing to these scenarios. So really like it's self-investigation, that I think is the biggest way. Create your own peace zone or your own health wellness zone or whatever zone it is, and that will just ripple out. And I can say that from my direct experience has happened with my family and the people that I love,
Mhm.
me changing me and becoming more at peace or healed or recovered or open or whatever it is, it's rippled out, and I have seen the massive changes and shifts that it's brought to the people around me.
Mhm. Mhm. That's awesome. I love that you're so authentic to express where you were wrong, because for most people, they don't want to be wrong because one, it just doesn't feel good when someone say you're wrong. Immediately, there's a wall that goes up of shutting that person out. When really, I think when people give us their honest opinion, if it's coming from a place of love, we should take it and work on it and cultivate something better and bigger and transform ourselves. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Totally, definitely. And it's easy to say that, but I know for me, I was in such a state of stress anyway, and I already felt so bad about myself. I was full of shame and guilt, Irish Catholic, um, influence. And I was doing everything to try and be a good person, and I wanted to be a good girl and a people pleaser, and I was trying so hard that any information that came to me that
Mhm.
uh, threatened that system, I was really on edge and really defensive about.
Mhm.
So it wasn't until I was able to really heal those parts of myself to some extent, and regulate myself to some extent, that I have this kind of opportunity that you're talking about, where I can see in a circumstance a bigger picture that I just wasn't visible to me before.
Mhm.
Um, it really wasn't there, and I experienced a lot of stressful things in my life that I now know, like I can now navigate life in a different way, that those things don't happen so much.
Mhm. Yeah. So you're a mind body coach. I mean, the title explain itself, but I want to hear your own methods and how you help women and your clients as well.
Yeah, I'd love to share. So, do you want to tell me a little bit about your chronic pain at all, if you're open to it, and I can kind
Yeah.
of like then explain using you as an example?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my chronic pain, it started probably 3, 4 years ago. It was gradual. It wasn't sudden. It kind of built up. When we feel a little ache, like some Advil and Tylenol or whatever, eat, rest, that might help. And then it kept getting worse and worse and worse to the point that it hurt to walk and stand or do anything. So I went to my doctor, and a bunch of X-rays and other things were done and tests, and then it just wasn't getting better while I was waiting for test. And they started doing steroids injections in my spine, in the lower base of my spine. Yeah, it helped a little bit, and then it got worse, and they just keep giving it to me. And they said I'm too young to keep getting those injections because they do damage to parts of the body. Um, and then I went to the hospital, I think once or twice, and they put me on heavy, heavy painkillers that interacted with the medications I'm taking for my mental health. And I didn't take those anymore. Essentially, I went to see a spine specialist. They looked at everything in detail, and they said, "We can't help you. This is something you're going to have to live with. We did everything we could. If we do surgery, it will make everything worse." So today I'm living with chronic pain every day, whether I look like it or feel like it, there's pain. I just learn to not focus on it and to make the best of every day. That's a little bit of my story. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, and I'm so sorry that that's been your experience. there's a lot that I can share with you today, right? That I
Mm.
hope is going to help.
Mhm.
Um, so your example is the back pain, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. So when you think of your symptom, right? Let's think of your back pain, and let's think of it, right? I already shared a little bit about how the nervous system is connected to every part of the body, right? Every part of the body. So it's also connected to your like muscles and tendons and
Oh, yeah.
um
Yeah.
yeah,
It doesn't just stay in the back, it's everywhere.
there's everywhere, exactly. Okay. And so when we're born, we're little sponges, and we take in these programs. We absorb these programs, and then from the age of 7 onwards, we move forward in life with these programs. And a lot of them, like I said, they're very broken,
Mm.
outdated, limiting beliefs, right? But why would we question them? It's all we've known, it's our reality, and it's also the reality of most of the people around us.
Mhm.
So we don't think there's anything weird or wrong about how we are. We think it's us. Okay, and then things start happening in the body. Just say we get even positive things can happen in your life that create more stress, like getting married or getting a promotion, or having children, and or a death, which is obviously not a positive thing, but they can be all kinds of experiences. So life keeps happening. So we're walking through life already with an old operating system. So we're building up all this tension, this malfunction over the years. But then as we start experiencing more things in life, like more deaths. I had a dear friend of mine take her own life, and I
Mhm.
had a car crash and different events. So you're throwing in all these things. You're already a malfunctioning robot, let's say. And
Mhm.
then you just start throwing in loads more jobs, like deal with this, deal with this, deal with this, deal with this, on a system that's not working, right? So all this tension builds up, and the nervous system starts firing up. And so for me, my digestion wouldn't work, but I was blaming the food all the time.
Mhm.
I had my bladder syndrome, and I thought it was like an infection or different things. I didn't know what it was. Um, so let's use your back pain as an example. So if you think, imagine each and every, so your nervous system, let's say this whole neural network right through your body, and then it manifests for everyone in different ways. So like on my skin, I had acne in my womb, and my stomach, and for you, it's your back, right? The stress in the nervous system is coming out at most in your back.
Mhm.
So let's imagine that your particular symptom, the back pain, is its own neural network. We'll just make it a loop for visual sake, right?
Mhm.
And so in that loop, you have the actual symptom. So that moment when the pain really kicks in, right? Or maybe the pain is there all the time, but either way, there's always a moment where you're like, and there's an emotional response, right?
Mhm.
So like it's usually anger, frustration, like sadness. I used to cry a lot, and then so all that energy is stress, right? That's also feeding this symptom loop. Then also there's the 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 memories. Okay, so you're gonna have all these memories of what doctors told you, like how much you've already spent. Um, for me, I had missed my best friend's wedding. I was supposed to be a bridesmaid. I had, you
Mhm.
know, all these different. I had lost my job, my ability to work. So
Mhm.
all these stressful memories also feeding this symptom loop, right?
Mhm.
And then you have the worry about the future, like the near future, like how am I going to get through my day? My back's just playing up. Like how am I going to go to work? How am I going to feed the kids? How am I going to do whatever, right? So there's a lot of energy and stressful energy already gone in, right? So when you can start to deactivate that energy. So what if you could tell yourself, right? I can do this with you if you want to like get comfy in your seat. Um, and can you feel your back pain now?
It's a little less because I'm sitting more straight.
Okay, but it's a little bit there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay, so what if you could Right, so if you imagine your nervous system when it's stressed out, that it's like a little baby. I always think of little kids, right? And the little kid is having a tantrum. It's like, "Wah!" And it's just like freaking out. It's just tense and it's just like doesn't know what's going on. And I need to like you just like kind of get yourself and soothe yourself. So I often like just get like my clients to like rock like you would to a baby or pat, you pat babies on the back. And you're like, it's okay, it's okay. And you want to calm. So your stress response is on. So you want to find a way, and for everyone's different, right? But you want to find a way, have lots of different tools for different people to start to send safety signals to your brain, like, hey,
Mhm.
right? And so that like calms you down a little bit. And you want to give it some new information. Like, what if you could tell your brain, and I don't know what you've been told by lots of different doctors and practitioners and stuff, but what if you could say, this is just a stressed out nervous system.
Yeah.
This is just an overstimulated nervous system.
Mhm.
And that is something I can change.
Mm. Yeah.
Like, do you want to try that? Do you want to see? No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
putting you under pressure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, you can try it yourself. Like some people like to like,
Is it like tapping? I've heard of tapping, like tap
yeah, I
body.
mean, yeah, you can use tapping, but anything that's just gonna like soothe you down, calm you down, just like,
Mm.
hey girl, I got you,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
This is just an overstimulated nervous system. And that is something I could change.
Mhm. Like a self-hug.
Like a self-hug, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a part of you is scared. In that moment, a part of you is really scared.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
So I use like lots of different tools in a way to start to deactivate the that particular symptom and
Mm.
then set you on a path, right? Because most people, and I don't know if this is your path, but you're like desperately looking for solutions. So you're like, Google here, like maybe this person, maybe it's lavender oil, maybe it's this, maybe it's changed my diet, maybe it's that. And you're like, I'm already a busy person. I've got like life to do. And then I have this whole other full-time job of trying to figure out what's kicking off my symptoms. How can I manage my day so that I don't get a flare, right?
Mhm.
And like, so we can relieve you of that burden, right? By setting you up with a plan to just focus on this one thing. It's your nervous system, deactivate your symptoms, start to regulate your nervous system so you come out of the stress response all the time and then navigate the world in a new way that those limiting beliefs you start to come out of when you come start to regulate your nervous system, you start to come out of tunnel vision. You
Yeah.
start to see your patterns,
Mhm.
your broken beliefs and bad habits that you learned were you start to see like, oh, maybe that's not me. Maybe I don't have to do that anymore. And you can navigate life in a way that is not going to be generating all that stress that your body then has to kind of carry for you.
Mhm.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Sorry, that was a
Oh,
long
no,
answer to your
no, it
question.
does. It absolutely does. When it comes to the nervous system, I would say mine is completely out of whack. Because with mental health issues, it depends on everybody, their circumstances, what they're diagnosed with. I'm diagnosed with schizophrenia. That's probably the worst anyone can get. Uh, Paranoia, anxiety, all of it. And it's getting better, on medications over the years. It's like I was in a constant state of fear, whether I look calm, whether I was sleeping, eating, whether I was doing something that I thought I enjoyed. I was not in the present moment to actually enjoy it. So, yes, you're right when it comes to the nervous system. That's all it takes to create chaos within the whole body.
Totally. And have you ever found anything that's helped you to get a little bit of relief from, like working with your nervous system?
hmm Um, I go the holistic approach. I have my own salt bath, lavender, essential oil, meditation. Um, I express my pain through my art, writing, and just hearing other people's stories. I used to focus on it a lot, and when I did, it got worse. That's what I noticed. That's why the mind is so powerful. Yes, yes, I'm always in constant fear, but it's getting better. I think all of us are to some extent. We have so much fear, especially in the world we live in, about tomorrow, about our job and kids, education, all of it. It's having a neutral understanding and balancing our life in a way that will benefit us.
I absolutely love what you shared, and thank you for being so open with your own story. And I I believe, I mean, I'm not a doctor or scientist, but I believe everyone is in fight or flight also. And when you think about the world we were born into, it was scary, and it's for some people far scarier than others, but still scary. And if you look at the world today, it's like makes sense that we would be all living with some degree of fear, and lack of trust.
Mhm,
Um, and that is something that I think we're all being called upon now to change, because it's not working. And I love what you shared as well, that you're moving, you're in the process. Like, I just think we're all, so am I. I'm in the process. I
mhm,
managed to regulate my nervous system enough to free myself from a lot of painful, debilitating symptoms. But I I I figure I'm going to be on this regulating journey until the day that I die, and just coming more and more out of fear and more into, as woo woo as it sounds, into love and trust. And yeah,
yeah, yeah. How would you define a sensitive woman?
yeah, I guess for me, I can just only ever like talk about my own experience. And for me, I was an intensely sensitive child.
Mm,
I when I would see things on TV and cartoons, like, I would get really upset. I'm really worried. Oh my God, what are they doing with that baby? And this, like, silly cartoon they're just playing. I'd be devastated. I would really, really, really feel the other feelings. I mean, maybe that's more empath, but
yeah.
this was just what my experience was. I would feel the feelings of other people, and I was just really, really sensitive to anything that was happening. It was like I could feel and sense other people's thoughts, emotions, energies, and it made me really, really good at seeing what other people need when they don't even see it themselves, which is an amazing gift to the world. But when becomes out of balance, and you become a caretaker where you're not, where you do not take care of your own needs, and you're hyper aware of everyone else's needs, that's when you're going to create a dis-ease in your mind and body. And so I believe, and I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but I believe that my nervous system is a lot more sensitive than maybe the average person. I know there's lots of other sensitive people out there, but my nervous system, so I'm getting a lot more information. I'm getting a lot of information from like lights and sounds and smells, and people's energies and thoughts. So I feel like I can get overstimulated and overwhelmed easily. I
Mm,
prefer being like one to one with people than in a group, because I will like get overstimulated. I won't be able to focus on anything.
yeah, yeah.
And I certainly saw myself as flawed for this for a very, very long time. And I reacted to that by becoming very tough, and in a way to survive in a world that valued insensitivity and invulnerability, rather than sensitivity. So it's been part of my journey is to get to know that part of myself as a superpower, and how to harness the energy of that I do have, and how to respect the, for want of a better word, the limitations, even though I don't see them as limitations, but what, how do I navigate the world as this highly sensitive being?
Mm,
And so the reason I bring it up for in my work is because a lot of the healing modalities that work for a lot of people, can be, I in my experience, were very overwhelming for me, like tapping as well, also because it was going back into the past, and it was going over and over emotions and trauma work. for me, this was really exhausting me, because I was already so in tune with my emotions. I was already very tapped in. I
Mm,
So therapies and a lot of things that people get a lot of benefit from, for me, weren't working. And
mm,
so I do think that when you are highly sensitive, the tools that I teach are just very gentle, very simple, but very effective.
mhm.
So I found that that's what I really needed, and nothing else was working for me because no one was really understanding that kind of trait.
Yeah.
that that wasn't going to change. It just, I needed to find a way to make this
Mm.
this path work for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you're a very, very sensitive empath, and I'm an empath, but I've learned to toughen up a little bit and do what I can with the energy I'm getting in. But being an empath, it's a curse and a blessing at the same time. And we bring out the best of both worlds. Could be the chaotic world and the non-chaotic. Yeah, yeah. It's learning to find tools and things that works for us, which I think you found, and through you finding that, you found yourself and you're helping other women and clients find themselves. That's really fulfilling.
Yeah, I love that you said that because when people come to me with pain,
Hmm.
and what they really want more than anything is to be out of pain, right? You can understand that. You want the pain to go away, you want the symptom to go away. But
Hmm.
when we start to regulate the nervous system and start to, yes, side effect, the symptoms can go away.
Hmm.
But the real magic is that you find yourself,
Yeah.
you discover yourself, you unearth yourself that was always there, but you had been become lost, because of the symptom and the illness and the trying to fix it, and you're just kind of in a whole world disconnected from your, like, your soul and your purposes and your
Hmm.
relationships. I was so many of my relationships were so affected. So I just love that you just spontaneously said that, because it really is. You come to get the symptoms fixed. And I always think that I got more bang for my buck because I
Hmm.
just wanted the symptoms to go. But I got, what I got was so much more. Is
Hmm.
more connected to myself and the world.
Yeah, yeah. And it's hard because life happens and sometimes we're not always in control what happens. Otherwise, no one would get sick, ill, or lose their job if they had superpowers to prevent what they're gonna suffer with from happening. And it's hard also when people we love, friends, families, and romantic partners, they don't understand how excruciating that it is to exist with what we're living with. And that's where it goes back to us to have low self-esteem. We don't love ourselves. Why? Not because we don't, because of the way people react about us, about our illnesses. At least that's my case, right? There are times where I'm like, I can't come. I just can't. Why not? I have pain and I can't move today. And here I go hurting someone when really I'm trying to love myself and expressing the love I have for myself with them by being honest. What are your thoughts on, people like that who they don't get it and they guilt trip people for it?
There's a few things that you really touched on there that are really important. And first of all, we already have low self-esteem to begin with because we have these broken beliefs about ourselves. We're in a state of stress, and that's from the low self-esteem. So it's already there.
Mhm.
And then you get to have these illnesses and these pains, which fills you full of shame and guilt. You're not good enough. You already thought you already felt not good enough.
Mhm.
That's why you got the symptom, and now you feel even more not good enough, even more worthless, not all the things we were told that makes a good person, a good citizen, contributing to society, busy, productive, all the capitalist ideas of what a good person is, where you're more and more unable to do. So more and more shame, more and more guilt.
Mhm.
And then the expectations of relationships
Mhm.
comes in. Um, and this is such a massive part of the journey, because I'm gonna just flip it around and tell you how it goes on this journey. Because when you can start to deactivate your symptoms and start to raise your own self-worth,
Mhm.
then um you're obviously, you start to feel better in all ways, but you actually, the boundaries, natural boundaries start to flow from you. So you don't have to like go and like study boundaries, read a book about boundaries. It's just when you start to raise your self-worth, it's just very become, and you start to regulate yourself, your nervous system, and feel a bit better, then it becomes really obvious when something doesn't feel right.
Mhm.
And it's easier to be kind of like maybe assertive with people. But
Yep.
when you're already so down, you're already so down. If someone, when someone reacts like that, like makes, is like annoyed with you for not being able to show up or whatever,
Mm.
it's really difficult. That's really, really painful, because you're like, I'm already in so much pain and I'm desperately don't want to let people down. But that's exactly what it feels like. So
Mm.
that's what it's like when you feel bad, so bad. But Um, the remedy is when you start to regulate and your symptoms do start to improve, and you feel more self-worth in your everyday experience, then the conversations and these boundaries and these relationships become so much easier.
Mhm.
And it's not that you have to get better before they become easier. It's not actually it. It's just your own self-worth does have to improve,
Mhm.
and that will make the relationships easier. And so you don't need to, it's a more simple process, because it means you don't have the big job of trying to explain to everyone how they're, hurting you or how they're behaving. But you just have to focus on yourself and keep growing your own self-worth, and you kind of lead the way in that sense, that you demonstrate a greater love and dignity for yourself. And
Mhm.
other people will then just, you hope that most people will kind of fall into place then, when and they understand it better. And for a lot of people, they're probably terrified as well. If they do really love you, they're probably freaking out. I know my family were. They're probably freaking out. They don't know what's wrong. They don't know how to help you. They don't know how to, they want to connect to you. They don't know how to connect to you.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm not making excuses for any like awful behavior, but there's just a lot going on in these circumstances.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for explaining it that way too. Um, and also on the other flip side of things, if you have friends or people in your life that are not supporting you, that are causing you even more harm or suffering, let them go, because maybe they're not in the same level as you and they're holding you back. And it applies to so many things in life. Maybe it's about your dreams, your career, you want to move or have kids, not have kids, buy a home, whatever it may be. And let those people go, so you can set yourself free, right? Because people like that, they weigh people down. Um, it's not about being selfish. It's being self-love, giving yourself the love you deserve when it comes to that. And it also applies to what we're talking about, obviously, anxiety, depression, and pain. If someone goes out of the way to make you suffer even more, it's not worth it at all.
Definitely. And when you begin to raise your self-worth, then you just have so much less tolerance for people
Mhm.
not going to meet you there, and they can just fall away, and make room for space for other people in your life.
Yeah. So, Aoife, how do you manage your symptoms today? Do you have some routines and habits and things that you do that helps you?
So the process I use to heal myself from all these different symptoms
Mhm.
is, it's what I teach in my workshops. I have free workshops and I teach my clients, and it really is just this simple process that works with deactivating your specific symptoms,
Mhm.
giving your brain this new information, learning to regulate your own nervous system, sending safety signals to your brain.
Mhm,
And then it's a journey of unearthing these limiting beliefs
mhm,
and navigating life in a new way. That's what I teach my clients. That's what I use for myself. That's what I teach my workshops.
mhm,
Um, just these simple tools for change.
mhm. That's awesome. You're working with two of the most important parts in the body, the brain. I will never understand my brain, even if I try. It's like there are layers. My brain has a brain, and then the other brain has a brain, and the nervous system. It's just fascinating. It's fragile and harsh at times. I think you bring a gentle side to understanding those topics because, yeah, everyone probably has heard of everything we talked about, but what are their approach to understanding what they're feeling?
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yes, exactly. So this is the approach that I take. There's so many different approaches, and I just recommend that anyone who's listening, if this resonates, if I resonate with you, definitely get in touch with me. But if it resonates with you, you can go out there, and there are so many people teaching nervous system regulation and mind body healing, mind body medicine. There's doctors out there, and really just find someone with a process and a technique that will work for you, that will suit you. And like i- it's just unimaginable, the healing that can happen and the recovery that can happen for you.
mhm.
um I believe it can work on everything, and I'm not a doctor or scientist, so
Yeah.
who that probably doesn't carry much weight for anyone, but
Mm,
I've seen people. I have a client who officially healed her high blood pressure. Her doctor has taken her diagnosis off her medical records, apparently, and yeah, just all kinds of symptoms. So yeah, just I recommend diving into this
mhm.
realm of healing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think we are our own personal doctors. We know ourselves more than anybody can. Yes, respect doctors. Yes, do as they say, but find the power to advocate for yourself. And I think a lot of people, they don't want to be rude or disrespectful. They just let things happen to them, to their body. And sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. I think advocacy is a very, very big key uh, that everyone should find to unlock what is within them and to use their voice.
I agree, and I really found any of my clients who have really trained themselves up in
Mhm,
this mind body education and teaching, they're able to interact with the medical system so much better,
mhm,
when in such a more like empowered and clear and confident way. And that's certainly my experience. So I agree, it's such a huge part.
mhm. So what's next for you? What's
I
your journey?
personally or business wise.
Both, both.
So in the business, I have group programs running now. I've been working with one-to-one clients for a few years, and I have group programs which are really fun,
Mhm,
and I have amazing women in there.
mhm,
And I have a workshop coming up soon. I do regular free workshops,
mhm,
so we can hang out. You can ask me questions. I can give you tools.
mhm,
Um, and then personally, I am in Spain at the moment and learning a bit of Spanish, and we'll see what's next. I don't know if I'll stay here long term or I'll move around, but for now, I am, yeah, really, really grateful for where I am geographically. My housemates, the apartment I live in is all just really beautiful area right beside the sea. So
mhm. Yeah,
it's yeah, I'm grateful.
yeah, that's awesome. Where can my listeners find you? Do you have a website, Facebook group?
Yes, I have a website, I have a Facebook group, and I have yeah, regular workshops. and I have Instagram, and I also have a YouTube channel. And on the YouTube channel, I have lots of interviews there with some of the mind body doctors and scientists and psychotherapists, and then lots of other people who just regular people who have healed themselves
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
different things, and they talk about the process and the journey, and it's a really supportive free resource.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's EFA Mind Body, and I can email you the links
Yeah,
so people.
absolutely. Yeah. So Aoife, what is the meaning of life for you?
Hmm. The meaning of life for me, so I'll tell you what actually.
Mhm.
I love science, and I love that whole world, but I also love the other realms. And I have a Reiki master, and she told me she does a lot of work with the spirits, in the spirit world.
Mhm.
And she told me that when we die, and this is just what she told me, and it's just my own personal thing and story. So you can have all your own opinions. That's okay. But she told me that when you die, you'll ask yourself three questions, right? First question: how deeply did I love?
Mm.
Second question: how much did I dare? And third question: how easily did I let go?
Mm.
So since she told me that, I often tune into those questions when I'm scared. What am I doing? Who do I think I am? I always think I ask myself those questions, and it really helps me, because I think, what if the meaning of life, I'm doing my best at forgiving and loving and letting go, and I'm definitely breaking through barriers and being daring. So for me, it just works as a bit of a compass
Yeah.
for life. Just love deeper, let go more, and dare more, dare to be you.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. That's really cool. Yeah, that's pretty deep as well. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Aoife, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you. It's been so nice meeting you, and just so easy to chat with you back and forth. It's been a total pleasure. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. All right.